All right, we're live. Second live episode of the day for me. I just did an episode of Fixture Focus with a Chelsea fan, friend of mine. So, welcome everyone to episode one, first ever episode of
That's
a
one.
new show that we're calling Claret and News. It is the brainchild of Matt, who I have with me tonight. Matt, how you doing?
Catchy. I like it. I'm very well, man. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. Thanks. So yeah, for those of you who are wondering what this show is going to be all about, it's going to be a show that Matt and I run within a few days of the last match, and we're going to talk about the match, and then we're going to talk about really three or four news articles that have been written about the club. And so we're just going to look for the top three or four articles that we find about some of the most important topics of the club, and then just have a conversation. We'd love to have your feedback in the comments section, if you want, and also comments after we're live once the video is posted.
May well
So,
have technical hits already. Great.
oh, we can still hear you though, Matt. Okay, I guess it's just me. I don't know why Matt thought he had a technical glitch. But okay, the show must go on. So I'll start things on my own. I'm going to share my screen here. And all right, I hope everyone can see it. The first topic that we're going to talk about is the game, the match from this past weekend. It was West Ham United 2, Tottenham Hotspur 3. Son, Lucas, and Kane with goals all within 13 minutes of each other. Of course, spread over two halves. And then Antonio came on at halftime and scored a goal in the 73rd minute. Agbona got a garbage time goal. Sort of annoyed by that. I actually had money on a 3-1 scoreline in my predictor league, and that goal really didn't mean anything. So, but yeah, I think the scoreline flatters us, to be honest. If you look and you see 3-2, you may say, "Oh man, it was a spirited comeback by West Ham," and it looks like a pretty even game. But it wasn't. I didn't think either team actually played extremely well. I don't think Tottenham lit it up. I thought it was poor defending and goalkeeping on all three of the goals. Pretty simple goals, nothing spectacular. And West Ham were pretty dreadful throughout the entire match. And Matt's back. Hey.
Back. There we go. It's all right. What we did there, I don't know if anyone spotted, we got all the mistakes out the way really early. So
absolutely. It was weird though. Because you were saying how you had technical difficulties, but I could still hear you.
Oh, really? Okay. So, that's okay.
Yeah.
Just little snags, no problem.
Oh yeah, but the show must go on, and so I started off by talking about the match, basically saying that I think the scoreline flattered us. To be honest, I thought we were 100%. pretty dreadful throughout the entire match, and I didn't really even think Tottenham were like all that great. Their 3 goals were normal, nothing special. I thought it was poor defending and goalkeeping. Right. So yeah, I've already given my opinion of it. What did you think?
I mean, yeah, I think we made them look good. 3-2 is flattering, and we've got kind of lurched from bad to worse, really. I think if you just look at what some of the things that being out there, I mean, this is from Football 365. This is the last quote there. How the late goals merely papered over the cracks for West Ham, who set to look to be involved in a grim battle to avoid relegation for the rest of the season. So they're saying there that this is going to go on and on and on. This is the rest of the season sort of thing. This isn't a blip. This isn't a snag. This is going to go. This is a long-term thing, which I think now some of us are beginning to accept. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. It's definitely starting to look like that's going to be the case. It's pretty interesting. It's actually astonishing how quickly the tables have turned. I remember there was a Pellegrini out Twitter handle that was started maybe like, I don't know, a month and a half ago, 2 months ago. And people were saying, what the hell is wrong with you? Like, why are you doing this? This is negative for the club. And in about 6 weeks, I would say the vast majority of fans actually think Pellegrini should be out. Are you one of those fans? Do you think he should have been gone already, or are you still holding on like by the are you still holding on, hanging by a thread?
It's interesting. I think the bigger question for me really is that sacking him is easy. I know it's going to be very expensive. There are numbers out there that he gets. He's going to cost us millions and millions of pounds. But to be fair, if that's the cost, that's the cost. I think the board would have known that when they signed him. Sacking him is easy. Who comes in? That's the big question for me. Is that yes, he can go, and he could go tomorrow, really, couldn't he? Yeah. But realistically, who comes in? I don't know. It's difficult as well. Next game is Chelsea. We're not expected to win that. Certainly not expected to win that as things stand now. Game after that is Wolves. Not really expected to win that. So I don't know. I don't know what the answer is really. It's all gone terribly, terribly wrong. And I remember people at the start of the season saying we could crack top 6. At the minute, we'll be lucky if we finish 16th. Yeah.
And I was gonna go to our second article, but I guess the mistakes are continuing a bit.
There we go. Old-fashioned. I printed them off, mate. Printed them off.
Yeah. All right, got it. Yeah, so I mean, really, I'm of the mindset that I'm still hanging by a thread, and I still have a little hope left. It would just be such a shame, I think
it would be.
Yeah, I think. If you would have told me that this would have happened and that we would have sacked him before the season started, I would have laughed. I wouldn't have believed you. And there were just such high expectations, especially with the way that we ended the season last year.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I'm really not seeing anything change, and I think that's one of the issues, though. I think one of the issues is the fact that Pellegrini has not been flexible with his tactics. And in fact, any substitutions or any personnel changes that he has made, for example, Zabaleta for Fredericks, has been questionable.
Really, really. I know that you've got that up there from the Mirror. I mean, one of the most scathing things I think they said this week was, and I'm going to find it in a second, it was this. Pellegrini, no charm, no charisma, and no plan B when the going gets tough. And just as with City, he will leave eventually, having built no real lasting relationship with the club. Neither their. I mean, that is scathing. I mean, this whole thing about how there's this thing about no plan B when the going gets tough. I think we can all attest to that. I think if you look at the way the game was going at the weekend. 3-0 down. I still do not understand if you're 3-0 down, why we are not bringing on a second striker, why we are not at least trying to get something from the game. I just don't understand it. And to be honest with that comment, the no plan B, I have to agree, really. Shocking.
Yeah, the no plan B.
This is an experienced manager.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, some people have said that he's just, he was on holiday in China, essentially, and he just wanted to come here for one last payday. I mean, I'm sure the amount of money that he's receiving certainly was a draw for him to come here. But
sure, of course, yeah.
I hate to just question a man's competitiveness. Maybe he is especially, I mean, at least when he came here, I don't think he came here saying, I don't really give a fuck. Like, I'm just going to come here for the money. I think that would have showed in itself. I think that would have showed earlier on than now. I just think it's a combination of, like no plan B. And when you look at the players out there, they seem to have, I think the biggest issue for the players is they seem to have zero confidence. And I think that stems zero. And I think that stems from the fact that there is no real game plan. They don't know what to do. Again, the players, the professional soccer players, they should improvise, and someone should be stepping up saying, hey, come on, guys, let's go. But the manager seems to have no game plan whatsoever.
Zero game plan. I mean, again, if you that Guardian article that came out, which was an interesting one actually, because I think they listed 4 or 5 managers and a case for keeping. That's what you've got it up there: the case for keeping, and a case for sacking. I mean, when you look at the case for keeping, for example, the bit that I picked out here is where it says that there were promising signs after a poor start last season, with wins over Arsenal, Man United, and Spurs getting supporters on side. And there's a hope at the board level, at least, that the results will improve once Fabianski is fit again. So, we went through something similar last season where we did have a terrible run of form, and then we turned it around. We had, that Arsenal win, I think was a real kickstarter there. So we're waiting for the same thing to happen again. My concern is, if that's the case for keeping him, are we always just waiting for? Right. We're going to go through a terrible patch. He'll win a couple of games and he'll beat a couple of bigger teams. Like we said, we got, and that will turn it around, and then we kind of stumble through, finish 11th and then away we go. Like, is this just going to be a pattern? Because if it is, I think that's unacceptable. This is supposed to be the next level. Yeah, and piggybacking off that point, I think the poor start last season, there were a lot of there was a bit more understanding. Yeah, it was a poor start. No points after 4 games, but everyone essentially said, it's a new manager, you got new players coming in, they're getting used to the Premier League, they're getting used to playing with each other, and then we did kick on. Now we've already had a year under our belts with this team, a year and a half, really. We actually started very well this year. So in my opinion, that case for keeping him, I agree with you. Really, that doesn't make sense. And also the sentence afterwards, the hope at board level is that results will improve when Fabianski is fit again. A goalkeeper is important for your team, and Fabianski was even more important than we realized. But there's also 10 other outfield players. Yeah. I would speak on the point about the goalkeeper situation in a minute. But okay, that aside, we're not creating any chances, and we haven't created any chances for entire games. You look at that. Allaire must have come into the team and must be thinking, "What am I doing here?" He never gets a sniff of the ball. He starts week in, week out, and he never gets a chance. So there's issues. Yeah, there's goalkeeper issues, and I think everyone accepts that now. But what's happening in the rest of the pitch? We look soft in the middle. I don't know what Anderson has been doing recently. Allaire's got no service. There's the fullbacks rotate and the back 4 rotates round and round and round. Will it be Balbuena and Diop, or will it be Ogbonna or Diop and Ogbonna? Was it be? There's just so much. There's so much wrong across the pitch. So I feel the goalkeeper situation really for Pellegrini, the Fabianski is out, because this is the only thing that people are talking about. We're not talking about the fact really that Anderson broke. The midfield is all over the place. The back 4 rotate in and out, and the striker's got no service. It's that comment about it will improve. I can't see that happening at all. Yes, it will make a difference, but will it improve results? Are we going to start winning games? Can you?
No, I can't, and it's definitely something that we shouldn't hang our hat on. I think that's my point. Is goalkeepers are important, but they shouldn't be this important to the point where that's the number one reason you're losing games. I mean, but let's be honest. Even if Roberto didn't make that last mistake against Burnley when he slapped the ball, they were already up. They were already 2-0 up. I mean,
Right.
That's just an example, but I just
Right.
yeah, I believe me. But
Yeah.
let's be clear though. Signing Roberto signing Roberto as our backup keeper was obviously a bad choice.
Well, yeah. Apparently, and that's in if you go to the second part of that same article. I mean, it's again because it also links that the signing Roberto to Husilos, who's the director of football there. It says the goalkeeper's been badly missed since suffering. So this is about Fabianski. The goalkeeper's been badly missed since suffering a hip injury in September, and unfortunately, the decision to deploy Roberto as he's threatening to define Pellegrini's reign. The Spaniard has picked by Mario Husilos, West Ham's director of football, and is woefully out of his depth. It's not just about Roberto. Husilos was hired on Pellegrini's insistence, and the pair have made costly mistakes in the transfer market, giving the injury-prone Jack Wilshere a 3-year deal now looks unforgivable. So again, Roberto, bringing Roberto in clearly is clearly not worked out. These things happen, but you'd be able to think we'd be able to get somebody in there to do a job. But again, this sign in, and this is down to Pellegrini. To be fair, I would also say I would have thought that the signing at the start of the season, the signing of Allaire, Bonals, bringing in Anderson the season, but do you know what I mean? All exciting signings, but we appear to really drop the ball on this one. And again, there's no plan B. What are we supposed to do?
Yeah, I think it's a lot of recency bias though too. This is
that's fair. Yeah.
Yeah, but I will say that the Hilaire signing, I'm not going to call that a bust quite yet. I think, like you said,
No.
he's serviced, and he does have 4 goals. Fornals seems to be on his way to being a bust. I'm not going to call that yet. He probably needs more time to.
He does, yeah. He does.
But yeah,
so I don't know. I mean, do you know what that last statement as well? He said tactically, Pellegrini is inflexible and unable to accept West Ham are in a relegation battle. Now, I read that somewhere else about him. I can't remember where it was this week. Oh, it was in a Telegraph. Telegraph have also said there is a fear that Pellegrini is not accepting the seriousness of the situation with West Ham. I mean, if that is the case, that he just thinks this is just a blip, we're going to get through it. That to me is also a cause for concern. So not only tactically are things going wrong, but if the attitude is don't worry about it, take it easy, don't panic. I mean, if we're not going to start panicking, if we start worrying now, when should we worry?
Yeah, I read that in a couple articles as well, and we are in a relegation battle. I tweeted it out after the game. If we're officially in a relegation battle. We're 2 points from being in the drop zone, and I think this is a nice segue into another topic. Is okay. So he's obviously not been sacked yet.
Right.
When, in your opinion, do you think? And hopefully we don't get to this point. That's the hope I have. But when do you think, if he is sacked, when do you think it'll be?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we've got Chelsea, then we've got Wolves, and then there's a good 12-day gap there, I think, between that game and the Palace game. So that's nearly 2 weeks.
So we have Chelsea, Wolves, but Chelsea, Wolves, we have Arsenal, Southampton, and then we have the 12-day gap.
Okay, so my bad. So there's a 12-day gap there until Christmas. That for me, it's these 4 games. If things don't go well, the board have then got 12 days before the January transfer window to get somebody in. So if it's going to happen, that's when it's going to happen.
Yeah.
And again, look at those. So Chelsea, we're not going to get anything out of that. Wolves, not going to get it. What's the next one there? Arsenal. I mean, to be fair, toss of the coin.
Yeah,
they're all over the place at the minute as well. Southampton, you'd think we should get something out of that. But this is the point, isn't it? It's the last couple of games, the last 6 games. These are games we should have been getting things out of. The Burnley game and whatnot. and it's not happened. So now he's almost, almost tied his own hands, because now he's got to get something out of a run of 4 tricky games. And if it doesn't happen, it will be in that gap there between the game and then the Palace game.
Yeah. So I actually would give him until the Southampton game as well. I'm essentially saying that out of the next 4 games, a win needs to happen. A win. And if that doesn't happen, that would be 11 without a win, and I think that would be way too long of a run.
Right. Okay.
However, I actually don't think that. I think personally that if after the Chelsea and Wolves game, if we lose both those games and we're in the bottom 3, I personally think that he'll be sacked after the Wolves game.
Really? It's not
Yeah.
impossible.
Yeah,
It's not impossible. I think would want to keep him. It's going to cost a lot of money to get rid of him. I think, again, if you'd have looked when he hired, I thought all of us thought what a brilliant hiring, experienced manager, won the Premier League, has managed in Europe, etc., etc. And it's just not worked out. So I don't know. I feel at least with the board, you can't really blame the board, because they've spent lots of money. They've been criticised in the past for not spending. We spent lots of money. So really, it has to be down at this point. And the players. Let's not forget the players. There's all professional athletes out there, all professional football players. But something's got to change, really. Something's got to change quick. I would be tempted to give him another 4 games.
Me
but
too.
I can see your point that after those 2 games, we're not. No way.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there. You mentioned the board a bit, and this has been something that I've disagreed with some people on social media about. Where do you think the board fits into all of this? Because they have put their money where their mouth is.
Mm-hmm.
Did you hear my question or no, Matt?
No. Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead. Try that one again there.
Yeah, I was just asking, like, where do you think the board fits into all of this? Are they to blame for any of this? Because they have put their money where their mouth is. They have, they have spent money.
I'd like to know what people are blaming the board for. Do you know what I mean? Like, if you go back, right. I think this thing as well, social media is brilliant because it's like an archive. You go back when we hired Pellegrini, everyone thought brilliant signing, great manager, excellent.
Yes.
When we bought, we needed a striker. We spent £40 million plus on Allaire, spent some money, top, brilliant. Some creativity in midfield to go alongside with Anderson and Antonio, and okay, we'll bring in 4 now, £23 million, brilliant, right? They've spent money. We're bringing in Diop. Last season needed a good quality centre back. Okay, I know his form shot, but we spent the money. People said brilliant. I don't know what people are blaming the board for. The only thing people will get to blame is if they let the situation, this situation carries on and it gets worse and worse and worse, and they don't make the change necessary. I also think they don't spend a little bit of money in January. Yeah, okay, yeah, fine. But in a minute, I don't know what people I don't know what people expect. Do you know what I mean? What are people moaning about? I don't get it.
I completely agree with you. I mean, if the Yarmolenko signing, oh, brilliant signing. The Anderson signing, wow, what a great signing. Allaire signing, Fornal. I mean, everything, we've been praising them, and it's not going according to plan. But what can the board do but hire a director of football like we asked, hire a world-class manager like we asked, spend the money for a world-class striker like we asked? It took them a few years, but they've done it, and they can't go out there and play for the players.
Yeah, 100%. Like, to be fair, I think they've done their bit, and I know people are always going to gripe about the stadium and this, that, and the other. Yeah, okay, fine, I get that. But when it comes to the team and bringing in a top quality manager, they've done it all. So now it's down to them, really. Like I said, is where they're going to act if we are going to bring somebody else in, when are they going to do it? And then again, who are they going to get? Because sacking's easy, but bringing in another quality manager will be difficult. And I think that will be the follow-up. I think if we bring in a journeyman or some nobody, that's going to cause problems. So probably the next big test for the board will be, if he goes, who comes in?
Yeah, and that's a great segue, Matt. So, yeah, big brain.
Big brain.
Yeah, let's talk about some of the let's go down the list of some of the replacements. So let's start with I guess the biggest name, and that's been Rafael Benitez. We know the relationship between Rafa and the board. The board are admirers of Rafa, and Rafa has been willing. I think he would be willing to come to West Ham. In my opinion, based on what I've read, it would be the reason of not hiring him would be financial, because not only would we have to pay off Pellegrini, but we would also have to maybe not match, but get close to matching what he's making in China, which is about £12 million a year. So it doesn't look like it's going to happen. It doesn't look like it's going to happen.
No, and that's the thing here in the Guardian. It says, financial imperatives will complicate any move. Benitez only took over at Dalian Yinfang in July. He's earning $12 million a year in China. And Pellegrini would be due compensation with 18 months left on his contract. So not only is it going to cost us to get rid of Pellegrini, it's going to. And I think someone said that Pellegrini might be around 7. Now that is a massive increase. There's Benitez's wages. It will have to be, almost a like for like swap. If he wants to come back to England and playing the Premier League or managing the Premier League. But Benitez for me, I think as well, has that time gone? We've talked about Benitez before, but has that ship sailed? Are we past Benitez now? What do you reckon?
No, I personally don't. I mean, he's another world. He would be sort of similar to Pellegrini in terms of his stature, and maybe even a bigger name in world football. Another winner, another manager with Premier League experience. I think a manager who would definitely at least get the best out of the team originally in the short term. But I think the one, besides the financial reasoning, the one thing that sort of makes me turn my back on Benitez is the fact that I believe that West Ham should be looking for someone that can build a culture and an identity around the club for years to come. And I think some of the candidates that have been mentioned in the press, like Eddie Howe and Sean Dyche, have done that at their respective clubs, and those clubs are now established Premier League sides.
Which is interesting. I mean, it says again in the Mirror this week. It says to favour a British head coach to turn their fortunes around. So that would mean that you are looking at an Eddie Howe, who would be top of my list. I think he's worked wonders at where he is over at Bournemouth on a very small budget. They play. I know they leak goals left, right, and centre. I get that. We also leak goals at the minute, so Dyche for me. I don't know. Not Dyche. Interested in Dyche coming in really, but I think I would probably Benitez, because I don't know whether when these managers or players go out to China to earn the big money, they're just almost putting themselves in retirement. Oh well, thanks very much, career over. I'll just take the paycheck. Do that for the or even for the hunger to win things. They're doing it because it's an easy life. Let's have it straight. So I'd rather maybe even go with a Dyche who wants to be in to do something at the club he's at, rather than a Benitez who's out there, who's been put himself out to pasture. I see there you've got up there on the screen there, Chris Hughton, not interested in that at all. I think that will be the really, really really, really bother me. I just don't understand that as an option. Again, it says here that the David a keen admirer, that he might be realistic candidate. Houghton is fired by Brighton at the end of last season and would be interested in taking over the job if it becomes available. Well, of course, he's be interested in the job. He's out of
course,
work.
yeah. Yeah. It's also like a big step up from Brighton as well.
Big step up, but this is the thing as well. The interesting phrase there for me is it's a more realistic candidate, because this is where we are right now. This is a manager who's managed at Real Madrid, has won the Premier League, in the Champions League, etc., and we're not going to go for some English British managers, Howe or Dyche. We're going to go for the realistic candidate. It happens to be an out of work manager who got the sack from Brighton. I mean, shocking.
Yeah. Well, when I read realistic, I think about more of a short-term replacement. Now, I'm not saying that I'd be, I definitely would rather get someone else besides Chris Hughton, but
right.
When you look at some of those other candidates like Rafa, like Eddie Howe especially, I don't think we can get those candidates in the middle of the season. I think we obviously could get it with Hughton. I think Dyche more realistically than Eddie Howe would come in the middle of the season, but that would also be a stretch for me. If we sack Pellegrini, who comes in the interim? I'm fine having an interim manager keep us up, and then in the summer, doing it again, sort of like what we did with David Moyes. But I just don't see Eddie Howe being a realistic candidate, or Rafa Benitez being a realistic candidate in November and December.
Right. That's just a fair point. I don't know. So at the minute, I mean, again, if things continue to get worse, is it a short-term pay gap? At the same time, if I was one of those managers there, if I was an Eddie Howe, I mean, what's his face over at Sheffield United keeps getting the mention. Wilder, his name pops up time and time again. But again, but the thing with those managers there, the three of them, is that they're at clubs where they're allowed to spend the money they want, bring in the players they want, run the club as they like, right? Will any of those managers be able to do it at West Ham? But you'd like to think, with the board having spent the money and the board having backed this manager, that would be an appeal to them. Second of all, you'd think as well, if we're paying Pellegrini whatever we're paying him, £7 million a year, those managers there are going to nowhere near that sort of money, nowhere near it.
Right.
So get the checkbook out. Money talks. I understand what you're saying. People moving mid-season is unusual and wouldn't happen. But like, if they want to go after these people, they can do it. The board can do it. Again, it's going to cost. But it's possible. But it's possible. Short-term manager, you're right. I don't know. But I don't know. I really don't. I don't know about that one. It depends, I suppose. Depends how difficult it is to get in someone long term, and maybe Houghton does come in short term. The answer is, is he the sort of manager that's really going to keep us up?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right now the main concern. Let me just ask you this though. If you had your top two choices, no matter, throw out financials, throw out in season or mid season, appearance by the manager. Who are your top two guys, 1 and 2?
Eddie Howe for me is number one, unquestionably. Young Cohn has done wonders where he is attacking football. I thought the money he had spent, he spent it well. So I'd probably go there. Number 2, two's an interesting one. That's the bigger issue. I don't even know who comes in to fix this. Yes, Dyche will come in and could keep us up 100%. But you could argue that about So this is the
Yeah.
point. Are we just looking to stay up, or are we looking to actually do something? I really, really don't know. I really don't know. What about you?
Yeah, I mean, obviously the ideal situation is to keep Manuel and to maybe get nick a couple results here in the next month. And we're only 6 points from fifth. That's how I look at it. And the table is super tight. And
It is, yeah.
but yeah, I mean, he has only a few weeks. And the players know what's on the line, and if they wanna continue to play for him, if they want Pellegrini to be their manager, they're going to have to start, I don't know, showing it. But in terms of the managers that I would want, Eddie Howe would be number one for me as well.
Okay.
Going back to how he's established a culture and an identity at Bournemouth, I think that's something that West Ham need. And I mean, due to that reasoning, I really love Sean Dyche because that's what he's done at Burnley. But I'm not really quite sure if he's the best fit tactically for the club. I still
would you be upset with Benitez?
Oh no, I was gonna say, like, I would say Rafa would be my number 2 choice. I would love Rafa in there. Like I said, Eddie Howe would be my preferred option. But yeah, Rafa for sure is a very close second. I mean, he's a world-class manager. He's a world-class manager.
Yeah. It's interesting as well because I think in that same Guardian article it talks about these other managers who are looking to get the sack. Now, Unai Emery's up there. Now, he was somebody a while ago who we were linked with. Now, I'm not proposing we get him in, but it's just interesting to see that there was another manager that we were linked with, and it's all gone wrong for him. So, maybe we do need someone who's proven in the Premier League. Maybe we do need someone to turn it around because if we've taken 2 points out of the last available 21.
Yeah,
I understand what you're saying. That gap is short between where we are and the top 6. It is a small gap mathematically, but we've taken 2 out of the last 21. We've just looked at those. We looked at those next 4 games coming up. If we get 3 points out of those ones, I think we'll be lucky, really.
Yeah.
So we've got to stop the rot. So I don't know. Something's got to change. Something's got to change quick.
Yeah, I think we both agree that we need 3 points before Christmas. I think that's pretty much across the board. If we can't get a win, especially against the likes of Southampton, or a result against a struggling Arsenal, it would be hard to keep getting behind Manuel. But at the end of the day, that's my ideal situation. Is that we look back on this and we say, man, we had a good second half of the year. If only we didn't struggle in October and November, which, by the way, are times that we tend to struggle in over the last few years. If you look at like our Novembers, there was a stat, I think, in the last 26 to 28 matches in November in the league, we've won 3. So
okay. Right. Okay. So it's just you're saying it's just like a boogeyman month. We just got it out of the way, and now we're all. I mean, let's hope so. I mean, obviously, my ideal situation is that this is just a blip, and then we get past it. That's obviously what the board are hoping for a number of reasons. That this is just a blip. Whatever else, I think to be honest, that Chelsea game is a chance for him. Really, we're not expected to win that, right? They're playing a lot better than anyone thought they would. They've got players coming into form, Abraham and Pulisic and whatever else are really establishing themselves in the team and in the league.
Yeah,
that to me is almost a statement game. We're not supposed to win it, so let's put 2 up front. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's just try something. We're not supposed to win it, so let's drop Anderson and let's bring somebody else in. We're not supposed to win it.
It's not going to happen, Matt.
It might. But this is
it's not going to happen.
He must like if this is what it says in the papers there about him not taking it seriously. Well, he better start taking it seriously, and he better start doing something. So, all right, even if he doesn't drop Anderson, okay, I'll be fine. But let's play 2 up front. Allaire obviously needs need someone up there, up top with him. Let's drop Cresswell and give Masuaku a run out. To be fair with the goalkeeper, I don't think putting David Martin in is the answer at all. So all this about give him a go. That is the one change I probably wouldn't make. Yes, Roberto is dreadful, right? But David Martin is 35 years old. And listen, and this is typically West Ham, right? We've spent over £150 million in the last 2 transfer windows. And some people think that our best option is to put a 35-year-old player in the goal who we got on a free from Millwall. Like that to me speaks volumes about where we are. That now apparently now is might be our best option. So Pellegrini for me, we're not going to win a game. Put 2 up front. Let's have a go. I think for me the big thing is that's almost him sitting back and being like, okay, shrug. Do you know what I mean? If he does nothing, just make a decision, do something. I almost don't care what it is.
And that's the thing.
Just do something.
And that's the thing. And Neil in the comments said it perfectly. He said, I could accept it as a blip if the manager was trying different things, but he ain't. And there is the problem. And it is a big problem. And honestly, I would slightly disagree with Neil in that he has, modified some things, AKA putting Zabaleta in for Fredericks. I keep going back to that example. But my point is he has tried some different things and they've been extremely questionable decisions. The decisions that he has been making just do not make sense. So I do agree with you guys that he needs to do something. Put 2 up top, drop Anderson, something. My opinion, my thing is I do not think it's going to happen. He's going to ride or die with his system, and it looks like he's going to die with it. But we'll see. Oh, well, looks like I'm going to close off the show by myself then. I guess we'll end it like we started it. We're pretty much going to end it. I'll look at some comments before we do. Neil saying 3 points off the bottom, 3-2. Justin, how many points do you think we'll get from the rest of these games? Chelsea, Wolves, Arsenal, Southampton, Liverpool, Palace, Leicester. Yeah, Neil. I mean, I think you make a good point. The last 6 or 7 games were made up the quote easy part of our schedule. The teams that we should be beating, but have West Ham beat the teams they should have beat. Usually they'll nick a result off of a Big 6 club, and let's hope that they can do that a couple times over the next couple months. But like I said earlier, I do think that he has as little as a couple games, maybe as much as up to the Southampton game to get a win. We'll add Matt back in here. What's up, Matt? Can you hear us, Matt? All right, Matt's got to work on his Wi-Fi. Let's see here. Neil again. The 3-5-2.
We've got bigger issues, so let's keep it in perspective.
Hey, Matt. Yeah, we couldn't really hear what you were saying up until the last part. You mind repeating that?
Yeah, sorry, I didn't hear your last comment. I was just saying technical issues. Small snag. Look at the issues we got in goal. So
yeah,
this is small time stuff.
Yeah, I was just going over the last comment by Neil. He said play a 3-5-2 with Martin in goal. I know you disagree with that. Rice, Agbona, Cresswell, and then Fredericks, Noble, Anderson, Snodgrass, Masuaku, and then Antonio and Hilaire up top. I actually wouldn't mind that. I think we're more likely to see a 4-4-2 than a 3-5-2.
Probably. I mean, that could go either way. I actually prefer to see us play 4-3-3. But that's absolutely dreaming. If he won't play 2 up front, he's not going to play 3 up front.
Right.
So, I mean, but again, I think, to be honest, I might not agree with absolutely everything Neil's saying about that formation there, but at least it's, like I said, just do something. Just have a go, try something,
Yeah.
Whatever it is. Because Because if we play 3-5-2 and he we get out and we get beat 3-0, so what? At least we've seen him try and be flexible. At least we try and see him have a plan B. At least try and be, try and have a go and win the game, which are all the things at the minute he's really not doing.
Yeah. And then we'll end it with one of the last comments. Neil says, Matt must be on dial-up. Are you on dial-up, Matt?
No, there's no cable like tracing down the end here. No. Let's just put it down to I don't know, gremlins in the system or something. I don't know.
First episode unluckiness.
First episode unluckiness. Yeah, nervousness. Yeah, that's all.
All right. Well, we're at 45 minutes. I think that's a good time to end it.
Solid.
Yeah, so we'll see. Hopefully, we can get something from that Chelsea game. Hopefully, at the very least, we can just see something new tactically that could maybe spark this side.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, thanks, Matt. This was fun. I'm looking forward to doing this again next week.
Definitely. All right. Well, keep the faith. Come on, you Irons.
Come on, you Irons.